Welcome to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and today I am delighted. Look at the lineup we've got for you here. It's Tony Haggerty and Laura Bradburn returning to the ACSOM hot seat. We're playing Dundee, and the lineups are out. Tony, any surprises in there? One or two names I probably wasn't expecting to start.
Well, you know what I'm going to say, Tom Rogic. That's the big surprise for everybody, I think. We were speaking off camera and Laura was making the point that she doesn't know what Tom Rogic has done to deserve a place in the starting lineup recently, and we spoke and I said maybe he's on to try and play a killer through pass to the likes of Kyogo and to utilise their speed because they're quite fast and pacey, the two of them. So I can only assume that's what it is. But glad to see Welsh back. I think that's pretty logical. I think everybody's of the same opinion that Neil Beaton is nearing the end of his Celtic career, or if he's not, he should be, so he just can't be trusted at all. So I'd like to see how Welsh and Starfelt do at the back of the pack. That'll be good. And Christie as well. I'm delighted that Christie's actually started.
Yeah.
We were speaking off air there, and I said that's a man who's given you everything since the new manager came in. Hasn't spat the dummy and has been the consummate professional and given you a shift. And he's either doing one or two things. He's either saying to the manager, look, improve my deal, I'll stay, or he's playing for a move to what he thinks might be bigger and better. But, and as long as he's given us a shift, I'm happy with that. Odsonne Edouard could take a leaf out of Christie's book. That's how you either get a move or that's how you get an improved deal. And that's how you keep fans happy and on side and sweet. And I know Ryan Christie's a kind of fallback guy for some fans' criticism. But you cannot criticise his attitude since the new manager came in and since the season started. And you know me, I'm always big in the double A application and attitude. And I think you can't fault Christie at all. And I'm glad to see him start. I think he deserves it as well.
I think so, Tony. Absolutely. I mean, if we're looking at Tom Rogic, Laura, when Ange Postecoglou came in, the first thing you thought was, right, he's had experience of working with Tommy Rogic. Rogic's season last season was a bit of a non-starter, really. I mean, there was a couple of cameos doing what we know he can do. But he's not been a first-team regular, a pivotal member of the Celtic team for some time now. We remember all the greatness, don't we? And I think, this is his first start under Ange Postecoglou competitively. I was a wee bit surprised simply because Turnbull's also in the starting lineup. So I'm asking myself, what is Tom Rogic's role here? Because it would be quite unfamiliar to see him in the engine room in the midfield, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking back actually to a post-match reaction that I gave last season. Now, I can't remember for the life of me. We had so many bad results. It might have been the St Mirren game. It might have been the Hamilton game. There was a few, but I got a bit of a hard time for saying that at that time that Rogic shouldn't play in a Celtic shirt again. And I don't think he's done anything in the 6 months or so since then to say that I was wrong at that stage. I think he's inadvertently been given a second lease of life because Ange knows him so well and worked with him in the Australian national team, and that's possibly why he's still here and will likely remain here for the season. But as I've said before, I mean, for a guy who has provided us so many magical moments, he doesn't do it often enough for me. Like, he either provides us a moment that goes down in Celtic history or he does absolutely zero. There's nothing in between with the guy, and I still don't understand this. I might be getting called overly cynical here or not empathetic enough, but I can't understand that a professional footballer can't get to a level of fitness where they can last 90 minutes in a match, and he still has never been able to do it. So, and as Tony said, I don't know what he's done in the last few performances to warrant his place, especially if, as you say, he's going to be in the engine room sticking a foot in, because I was saying before the match, Sorrow makes some rash challenges. He gives away stupid free kicks. But at least he's sticking his foot in and breaking up the play. I don't see Rogic doing that today. And it does worry me that maybe Dundee will get a bit more possession than Hearts did, even though it didn't come to anything for us in the Hearts game. So I'm a bit like unsure about his inclusion. The other one that I don't think we've touched on that I think is a bit of a surprise is not to see Forrest in from the start. The only thing I can assume there is that with the length of injury that he's coming back from, he's perhaps taking a bit longer to get back to match fitness, which is fair enough. But I can't wait for him to get back up to match fitness and see him and Abada and Kyogo running riot, hopefully.
I think, one of the big criticisms that I had over the last couple of seasons was the overuse, the mismanagement of the squad, Tony, where players played again and again. The big example last season was when we were playing, Scott Brown 3 times in a week, and we're playing AC Milan. Scott Brown starts again. And, the mismanagement of individual players and then collectively of the squad. So on the one hand, you want to see Forrest getting that run of games, but it's a good headache for Ange to have where he's able to drop him to the bench because Abada started so well. And again, I was really, I thought his performance in Europe the other night was great. He's still a young guy with loads to learn, but, he shows so many flashes of positive kind of football, direct football, that I think you've got to get him games. And of course, Christie, I think he's in on merit. One final point on Tommy Rogic. I'll ask yourself first, Tony, is it now or never for Tom Rogic? I mean, the worlds have aligned for him right now, haven't they? He's got someone, a sympathetic ear in Ange. He's looking fit. He's certainly looking trim as I can remember seeing him in a Celtic jersey. It's now or never for Tom Rogic, isn't it?
You might remember my famous line about Tom Rogic. I said, you can compile a DVD of Tom Rogic's greatest goals, but not a DVD of Tom Rogic's greatest games, because he's never had any. He's had fleeting moments which have elevated him to greatness in Celtic fans' eyes. I have never seen Tom Rogic actually grab a game by the scruff of the neck and boss it. But he's been a match winner in many, many, many games, many important games. You can name them off. But I've never seen Tom Rogic actually boss a football match. As I say, he's had isolated moments which have elevated him in some people's eyes to greatness. He's not a great player in my eyes. I say he's a luxury player, but he can do certain things. But he's just not done it enough on a consistent basis. And I guess it is now or never. He has a manager that trusts him. So the first element of that trust, he's putting them in today, and a team that has to win today. Celtic have to win today, and they're not going to be handed it. And let's remember, Celtic played a team that came up from the Championship last week and came a cropper. So people predicting 4, 5 and 6 nothing and all that. Celtic just need to win today. Any kind of win would be great. Get their season up and running. And if they can win with style and score a few goals in the process and keep a clean sheet, that's another bigger bonus. But you have to earn the right to win. You cannot go into this game just thinking, we'll swat Dundee aside. Because a lot of people thought that last week with Hearts. And look what happened. So you always have to earn the right to win. And you have to apply yourself, be professional, do a professional job. Got a bonus ball yesterday with Rangers losing to Dundee United. Nobody saw that coming. So now you can affect your own side of the bargain now. Go and affect it. And, Tom Rogic's been handed an opportunity. Whether he deserves it or not, it'll be debated long and weary, but the manager has given him it, and he has to take it. But I'm in total agreement with Laura. I've never seen, excuse me, I've never seen a footballer struggle so much to compete in 90 minutes. And it's worrying.
And he's playing alongside McGregor, who consistently plays 50 plus, sometimes 60 plus games a season.
Yeah, and if you're watching Callum McGregor, then you would know what to do. You would surely be like, okay, as I said about Edward taking a leaf out of Christie's book, surely Rogic should be watching guys like McGregor who managers go to the well and ask them to keep on drinking. And McGregor seems to be able to do that. Others can't, and I'm in that. So. But as I say, he's got a chance today, and just turn up, perform, and I said that he's maybe in there for the killer passes that he thinks he can release Abada and Kyogo. I think that's maybe Andy's thinking of the defence splitting nature to his game, because he's got skill, and he's got quick feet and he can do things. So I think maybe that's the thing. Laura talked about Soro. I think that's just a wee warning shot over the bow to Soro.
Yeah.
Saying, listen, like what you're doing, but you need to curb your enthusiasm because you'll sit here a lot because you'll pick up bookings and suspensions. So maybe that's just a wee kind of, you know what? In Forest, I can understand. You cannot mismanage Forest. Forest's been out for a long, long time. You know, it was a horses for courses team the other night when he went with kind of 3 up front. He went to win that game in the Czech Republic. You know, he's going to win the game again today, but, you know, just say to Forest, right, you know, I'll put a rein on you just now until you are fully up to speed. And I fully understand that, and I'm quite happy with that, actually. Because once you get a fully fit James Forrest, it could be another lethal weapon.
Absolutely. I mean, we were talking again during the week, Laura, about his, the amount of contribution he has in terms of creating and scoring goals. You know, that some of the stats are incredible. Almost 100 assists in a Celtic jersey, which is astonishing. And when he's gone, that's when a lot of Celtic fans think, wow, we miss James Forrest, don't we? Keep the comments coming in on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube as well. KGM on the hoops, absolutely. We're not at the game today. Obviously, we will have to have a wee rethink as to how the bulletins work. We're trying to get a space either in the ground, maybe in a van outside, or maybe in a local establishment. Who knows how it's going to look? Or we might just have somebody in the studio, Jeff Sterling style, Laura, and you can zoom in everybody that's at the game to give us their thoughts on the game. Stephen Forbes comes in on YouTube as well, expecting a few goals and a clean sheet to set a marker down in front of our fans and begin a good run of form. Thoughts on Rogic and Welsh in particular? Well, we've chatted about Rogic. Let's have a wee talk about Welsh then, because I've got to say, Laura, I was a wee bit surprised after the Michelin games where him and Dane Murray were thrown in together that he was dropped for the opener against Hearts. And that's not with hindsight. I was surprised at that. I thought Welsh had done enough. Yes, he was giving away, soft free kicks, rash challenges. Tony picked up on it pretty early on. Maybe it's because he felt an added responsibility because he's playing alongside Dane Murray. I don't know, but obviously Beaton came in against Hearts. He's won his jersey back. Do you think that's the right move for Postecoglou today?
100%. There was a comment and folk hate when we go on about the WhatsApp group chat, but as you guys both know, there's a lot of opinions fly back and forth. Mine not to say the least, but I remember Kevin Graham commenting, Celtic don't deserve good things when Near Beaton's getting selected, and I thought that kind of sums it up to me. I mean, I don't understand the persistence with playing the guy, playing him out of position, and people can say, oh, he plays centre-half for Israel now, he's played centre-half for us for long enough. He is not a centre-half, and we persist in playing him at centre-half, regardless of the fact that he doesn't appear to do anything to merit that selection. There was a goal that gets scored, De Blonic scored during the week there on Thursday night or whenever it was, and I think from my recollection, he got back to the ball on the line and to my mind should have been able to clear it off the line and kind of half-heartedly stuck a leg at it and hit it into the side netting, and it went in. And I was like, if you've made all that effort to get there, surely you can make the extra effort to... It wasn't even stretching to clear it out of the box. And I just thought, if your lack of desire is so obvious as it is, I would rather have a player like Stephen Welsh in there who, is he perfect? No. Is he free from errors? Absolutely not. But is he trying 100%, and does he have enough talent-wise to do the job? I think so. I think he's about as good a young defender as I've seen at the club come from our own ranks that I can remember. The last one I can remember coming through that stayed with any sort of regularity was Stephen McManus. I think he's probably not quite that level yet, but certainly could be on the way to that. And I think he's done more than enough to warrant his place, certainly ahead of Near Beaton, even if we still need to get in support for him in terms of another centre-back or something like that.
Well, you make a good point there about Stephen Welsh, because I remember McManus coming in and he was basically a big no-nonsense centre-half, wasn't he? He had a great Celtic career, I think. He captained Celtic to a double. He captained Celtic in the Champions League. But, it's like what you were saying there. In terms of technical ability, he done a lot of the basics really, really well. And I think that McManus was a good leader. when I'm looking at that situation against Jablonec that you describe, I want a Barry Venison-esque overhead kick. Tony, you'll know what I'm talking about. It was a live Sky game. Who was it against? Luton Town, maybe, in the Cup. And he does the old overhead kick off the line. That's what I want. Keep it out. Anything you need to do to keep it out. Because I was corrected by Alan Morrison just the other day on said infamous group, Laura, where I've said I didn't blame Hart for the goal because I actually think the ricochet put him off. And Alan pointed out, well, you're right, because actually Joe Hart saved it. He saved it, pushes it onto the post before Beaton puts it in. So Stephen Welsh then, Tony, I'm looking at, at least having two in every position. That's what you want to start off with. And if you've got three, fantastic. And we're looking at the centre half. So when Jullien comes back in, you're expecting Jullien and Starfelt to be the two picks. And I would be pretty happy with Stephen Welsh behind either of those two. I know that there's a division of opinion, particularly amongst the ACSOM group. Are you happy to see him back in today, Tony?
Well, without a doubt. Neil Beaton's a big game merchant. He's been an error in nearly every big game he's played. So he can't be trusted, Neil Beaton. So I think it's time that, I said that, I think his time at Celtic's up. And the future is guys like Stephen Welsh. So you have to look to your youngsters to come in. And Stephen Welsh really did nothing wrong. To be dropped from the side or axed from the side, a couple of rash challenges, yeah, but you take him aside and you show him. If you really want to coach that kid, you take him aside and you say, this has to stop. Mm-hmm. The one that he did against Midtjylland, which led to the goal, needless. The one against Hearts, needless. The booking that he picked up.
Yeah.
See if you can iron out these deficiencies in your game. It's called management, by the way, when you do that with players. And you just point out their errors and you say, if you can iron out the deficiencies, there is no reason why you can't be alongside Starfelt or alongside Jullien. You make the decision to make you undroppable. Don't make me actually from the squad like that. And again, like I said with Sorrow, it was maybe a warning shot over Welsh's bow. This is unacceptable. You can't be. We like what you're doing. We think there's a player in you. We trust you, but you can't go about kicking people and
giving away daft fouls. Yeah,
giving away daft fouls, especially when you're a defender, because it's. There's a high percentage that, what was Celtic's Achilles heel? Losing goals from set pieces last season.
Exactly, Tony. Exactly.
They're the things that if you're really switched on, you're saying, right, if he's going to give away a lot of these, then people will fancy their chances. Hearts fancy their chances from set pieces last week. Dundee will probably do the same. This week, they'll play for set pieces in and around your box. Why wouldn't you? It seems a simple way to play football, but Celtic can't cope with that at the minute. Or they've shown they can't cope with that. So we have to find a way of coping. So you have to start finding a settled defence that are going to cope. So from now until Jullien comes back, I would be saying to Welsh, give him that confidence and say, it's going to be you and Starfelt, and see what he does. That's how players kind of grow into it. And I agree with Laura. I'm enjoying watching Stephen Welsh, and I was quite perturbed when he got dropped, but I kind of realise why. Youngsters are rash at times. They make rookie mistakes, and he will continue to make them. But if they become less frequent, then you'll know he's learning.
I like the sound of that, because if you look at the 21 games that Welsh played last season, and we all know the circumstances surrounding last season, where he's playing with three different goalkeepers, none of whom were filling any of us with any kind of confidence. He's playing alongside Shane Duffy, who was having the season from hell in terms of his career. And then, he's playing up with Chris Ayer, who, we've managed to make a decent amount of money off him, Tony, but we are all aware of his defensive deficiencies. It would be good to see him playing alongside someone with that wee bit of experience in Starfelt, someone with bags of experience behind him in Joe Hart, like you say, for the next 10 games, the next dozen games, and just see how that helps him to develop. I'm looking forward to that, Laura. And then what then inevitably will happen, and this comes into one of the points that I'm going to bring up here, is that the Celtic board will probably say, all right, we don't need to strengthen at centre-half then, because Stephen Welsh is the answer. Powerman 1988 comes in to say we need a right-back, left-back, another centre-back, and a striker, and we'll be cooking the gas. 100% agree with that. Yeah, bring them all in. Absolutely. But I raised my concerns about this, Laura, and the real concerns about the fact that, you look at last season, we bring in half a dozen players, 7 players by the end of the season, and we really struggled to, embed them into the Celtic side. And I'm not saying that was one of the main reasons for our downfall last season, but they certainly didn't, get into that side and hit the ground running, and it took until we know when for Turnbull to start playing. Are the Celtic board dragging their heels because they think we've brought in enough players? We've brought in 7, and that includes Shaw and Urhoghide, who I don't personally think are going to play much first team football, certainly. Are they looking at it now thinking, we might be able to make do with Ralston at right back, Taylor at left back? Because that is a massive concern for me. We really need to, and as Tony says, we've got a bit of luck yesterday when the other Dundee side, because it isn't the same team we're playing today, Stevie G, it was the other Dundee side, pulled a win out the bag. You can't rest on your laurels even if we go out there today and win by a couple of goals. We need to strengthen again, don't we?
I would say so. The first place I would start is I hear there's a wee Argentinian guy going for a free. Maybe give him a call. What is it we keep saying? Make the call. Ask the question. His departure was announced in the second biggest live stream on YouTube today. But no, I hope not, because if the Celtic board are looking at the current situation, sort of going, well, actually, we're fine. We're only an injury or 2 away from being absolutely wrecked as far as the squad is concerned, and that is where the problem comes in. Julien's got a serious injury that he's come back from. If he's even back up and running by the new year, then you're doing well. There might be another setback in his injury. If Starfelt or Stephen Welsh, touchwood, don't get anything, we're running thin on centre backs. Apart from Taylor and Ralston, we have nobody to fill in at fullbacks apart from Bolingoli, who doesn't look anywhere near the squad either. So it's not a case of whether the 11 that are going out on the pitch are doing the job or not, which at the moment there's a question over whether that's even happening. It's about the fact that you're only a rash tackle or a misplaced foot or a stud getting caught in the grass away from somebody being out for a significant portion of the season, and that's where you worry that our board are potentially not football men, whatever that is, that they don't understand that and don't understand the fact that we have to be in a position squad-wise to be able to field a strong team every week, regardless of what happens on the pitch week to week.
No, you know what? When you're talking like that, you just need to look at Julien and the circumstances around his long-term injury, a collision with a post. And by the way, he was doing what Beaton didn't do. He was trying his damnedest to keep the ball out the net. But you just got to look at that bench, Tony, to see how thin we really still are. We've got cover at left back from Adam Montgomery, so Bolingoli's completely out the picture, which I think a lot of Celtic fans will be happy with. Right back, well, we don't actually have cover, so it would be Welsh to right back, Beaton to centre half. So that just shows you how wafer thin we are at the back. Do you think a wee bit of complacency that will come into it when it comes to the bean counters when they're looking at this squad?
We keep getting told that the men upstairs are big Celtic men, right? And to a man, woman and child who supports Celtic, every supporter says we're needing a right back, a left back, a centre back, possibly a midfielder and a striker. 5 players. And if every Celtic supporter is saying that, we're about 3 or 4 players away from having a settled squad, or we feel comfortable moving forward. Why can't the men who are supposedly great Celtic supporters and sitting in high office, how can they not see that? Read the room. Read the mood music around the club. Every supporter is saying, Ange, the manager's telling you, I need players. And then saying, maybe I wasn't forceful enough. I need players. Right? Basically, right? In every interview he's given, that's what he's saying. The subtext to that is back back over the net to you. You know what I mean? Are you going to help me here? What other way can I spell this out? I need players, and I need them now, yesterday, and I need them in the right backs, left back, centre back, striker, midfielder. Obviously, they brought in McCarthy, who's not playing today, but Angie hinted that he was going to bring him in maybe for the European game on Thursday. So be it. But we still need at least 4, right? And I've got 2 weeks, a big 2 or 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks coming up for Celtic transfer wise, because they can't rest in their laurels. Because yesterday they were given a bonus ball and chink of daylight and a way back in. So the domestic season starts today. It should have started last week, but it starts today. Right? Yeah. It starts today. You have to go out and perform. But the manager's also got to make the point where we're still lacking. We're still lacking in quality. And it's quality. We're not just talking quantity, it's quality. You want quality players for every position. So that's what we need. So if that's what we need, and all the supporters are aware of it, and the managers is aware of it, then the guys upstairs have to become aware of it and say, do you know what? We're going to help you here. And
see to pick up on what you're saying there, Tony, it's fair enough to say they should be Celtic supporters and they should be this and that, but you take it even more simply than that. Look at the squad list. Just look at the numbers. It doesn't work. We all have professional jobs where I've worked in a job before where you look at a system and you look at, don't leave any part of a system to one person, because if that one person is off work for any given amount of time, that system falls down around your ears because of that one person being taken out of it. The only person you need to look at in the whole squad to highlight exactly where our issues are is Anthony Ralston. Now, I'm not going to come down on him any more than people already have done, because I'm in the same boat. I don't think he's Celtic class, but he has put in great performances the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I think all credit to him for that. But if he gets injured, we don't have anybody for the right back position. It's as simple as that. Before you even look at centre backs and left backs and strikers and whatever, there's a position on the pitch where we have one player at the club that can play it, and that should never happen.
Of course, but that's what. So what are they seeing? And also, I'll tell you, going back to that, Celtic were a tackle away last week for having their captain out for a lengthy period of time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
He rode it, thankfully. Shocking challenge, right?
Shouldn't be wearing the maroon today, but
Shocking challenge. If that goes the way it could have gone, Callum McGregor's looking at a year out. Or a career ender, because he could have snapped his ankle or ligaments or snapped his leg. And what would Celtic have done then? Talking about being light or the probabilities of fate, a stud away or a twisted ankle or whatever. I mean, that was a horrendous challenge that could have, put Callum McGregor on the sidelines for a lengthy spell. So I'm just using that as an example of how this can happen to players, as you said, Laura. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Easily. So Celtic know what they need. The manager's pointed it out. The board have to now help the manager, because there's a wee bit of momentum gathering because they got their first win and they scored some goals. Yeah, but we know where the deficiencies lie. Go and sort out the deficiencies. Fed up talking about them. It's as I say, it's Angie's smashed the ball back over the tennis net to the board and say, right, 2.5 weeks here. Let's see where we go. Let's see what we can get in. And he needs every right to ask for those players. And the board have to back him. You see, if they don't, then you'll know exactly where their thinking is this season, because they will think we've got enough to cope. And we do not have nowhere near enough to cope moving forward.
And you're absolutely right.
And we will come a cropper if that's the decision that the CEO or the board members arrive at. This has to be addressed, and quickly. The man needs another 3 or 4 players to come in this window, and good players. Not
It's equivalent. It's equivalent to me doing the bulletin myself again, Tony, with 3 gallons of juice, just talking to the comments field. I am Anthony Ralston, exactly.
Something like that, yeah.
The teams are on the park. The crowd have been singing "Walk On." We're going into a huddle. We're not there, but we're certainly going to watch every kick of the ball. Hopefully we'll be back very, very soon in the ground, the ACSOM team. I'm not sure who is in the ground. I don't want to reveal that in case you get stick. You get stick for being at the game. You get stick for not being at the game. But let's go to the action, and we will join you all again at half-time for a Celtic State of Mind.